Okay. Okay, so let's get started. I think we have everyone here. So hi everyone, welcome to round one, group one of our EMPath Makeathon. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Yulia and I'm Rana's executive assistant. Just a quick housekeeping item. Please make sure that you are on mute at all times unless you need to speak so there's no background noise. And now I'll get our next judge to introduce himself, Mohammed, or Mo as I like to call him. Take it away.
Hello everyone, my name is Mohammad Mavadati. I'm lead computer vision scientist in Affectiva, and my focus is leading a team for developing expressions and emotion models here. Great to meet you all.
Awesome, thank you, Mo. And then our third judge, Ajin, please introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Ajay Joshi. I am a research scientist here at Affectiva, working on building models to predict driver state like drowsiness and distraction, and I'm looking forward to hear all of your presentations. Good luck.
Okay, awesome. So let's get started. The first presenting team is Go Leader.
Hi everyone, I'll just share my screen. Give me 1 second. All right. So good morning, everyone. We're Team Goleador, and we're here to present to you about empathy in telehealth. Victor, Jesse, Mohammed, and I, along with our mentor Rezwan, have been working for the past 2 weeks to find a solution to increase empathy in the field of telehealth. So as we begin, let me just share with you a short story. Meet Dr. Mohammed and patient Victor. They're having a virtual appointment right now and pay special attention to Victor's facial expressions.
So your results just came back and your hemoglobin is 15.5, which is nothing to worry about. It's in the normal range. Your MCV is 81.5, which is still okay. But your kidney function tests, the serum creatinine one was 1.15 milligram only. Yeah, and the lymphocytes were 26.2%, and which is in the normal range, and the basophils were 0.6%, which is still in the normal range. It's a bit in the low.
So you're probably noticing right now that Victor actually looks a bit confused. While reading out the kidney test results, Mohammed's not looking up from his notes to evaluate Victor's facial expressions or to interact with him, and he's not explaining or going slower what the values actually mean to Victor and his health. The situation is something that actually happened to one of our teammates, and this weakens the connection between doctor and patient, especially online. Unfortunately, this situation is not an isolated case. Let me show you why. So before the corona pandemic, around half of all patients thought that virtual care was much worse than in-person healthcare. This trend continued with primary care doctors and specialists who both categories didn't have confidence that virtual healthcare would benefit their patients or their clinic. Then, of course, the pandemic hit, and within 9 weeks, in-person visits dropped 60% from the baseline, only rising slowly up to 30% from the baseline where they are today. Kind of related to this, the telehealth visits in a week jumped up from less than 1/10 of a percentage point to 14%, and have kind of plateaued off at 12% of all total visits. So this giant increase in healthcare, in virtual healthcare, obviously creates this situation that's less than ideal. Regardless of anyone's prior experiences, preparedness, or even opinion on virtual healthcare, basically all of us are in the same boat. And in 3 out of 4 logical cases that we can set up, this results in an imbalance between the doctor and the patient virtually. Victor and Mohammed, as we can see again, are definitely not an isolated case. And this isn't just a 2020 problem. Although the telehealth market did increase 10% in 2020 alone, the market is accelerating much faster due to COVID. According to a study from the American Medical Association, 11% of patients before the pandemic used virtual healthcare, and this number is projected to be 83% in the future. So let's just do a small recap. We have this less than ideal situation between the patient and doctor because of the rise of virtual healthcare. We know that virtual healthcare will continue even beyond the pandemic in 2020. and somehow we have to improve the patient-doctor relationship to get to a good standpoint. How do we do this? That's where Goleador comes in. Jessie will tell us what Goleador is and what we do.
Thanks, Maria. And then we are going to talk about what is Goleador. Goleador combines Zoom API and Affectiva Emotion SDK, so doctor and patient can improve their relationship through emotional information in their virtual meeting. We detect what emotion a patient is feeling and what manner a doctor looks like during conversation. Then we send all information to the doctor. Also, the doctor can give different hints to make sure that the patient has good experience and feeling. Goleador's tool is very powerful in enhancing more values and good service in telehealth. Next, why we need to care about the doctor-patient relationship and why we want to make sure the relationship is positive. The reason is that a good healthcare, it is not only to provide an effective treatment method, but also to have a positive doctor-patient relationship. It can increase better adherence to treatment plans. Next. Also, according to George Washington University's research, 100% of interviewees said that they want a doctor who listens to them and then care them. Also, they can explain medical information well. Next. To reach out our goal of improving the doctor-patient relationship in virtual conversation, we analyze different types of facial expression and status from two sides. First, analyzing information from the doctor side. The purpose of the part is to give a doctor suggestion about how to build a patient's trust. So we detect smiling, attention. Also, a good conversation is is like two people dancing. People need to pay attention to listen and deliver appropriate information, not just keep talking whatever they want to say. So we detect information quantity to give doctors a hint, like if they deliver too much information to their patient at one time. Second, analyzing information from the patient's side. The purpose of the part is to make doctor can show their empathy to their patient, especially dealing with negative emotion. The doctor must identify them and give appropriate responses. So we detect sadness, anger, confusion, attention to give doctor hint. And now I will pass my hand to talk about market landscape.
Looking at the current market landscape, we can see that there are two types of companies. Companies like Virtual, Amwell, and MD Live, which are telemedicine companies that only offer a platform for connecting both doctors and patients together. And companies like Microsoft, which are actually analyzing virtual meetings, but they are doing it more geared towards team collaboration, and that most of the data they provide aren't useful in the telemedicine field. Next. So thinking of how some of our potential competitors could be actually a potential customer, we took the initiative and reached out to the CEO of Shizlong to interview him. Shizlong is a company that's operating in over 40 countries with over 350 doctors on their platform. While interviewing the CEO, he expressed real interest in post-session analysis, especially customer satisfaction after the end of the session. And talking to Dr. Stephen Luki from iHope Network, who is a psychiatrist, he spoke to us about the value of real-time monitoring of the doctor-patient interaction and also expressed real interest and excitement for the post-session analysis. So we started building our solution. And now we'll move to Victor with how our solution is built.
Yes, next slide, please. Our solution is a web application that executes real-time emotion recognition over one-to-one video calls. We were able to do this by implementing three main features. First, using Affectiva's Aftex SDK combined with the Zoom Web SDK, we were able to process the feeds from both the patient and the doctor while the conversation was happening. Second, we then we slightly customized Zoom's interface to add a Get Analytics button at the bottom so that the doctor can click on it and at the end of the session be able to see the results and like the range of experiences and emotions and expressions that were experienced by both themselves and their patients during the session. Lastly, we implemented a real-time intervention feature So our belief is that sometimes a patient is reluctant to ask for more information, more clarification. And this feature gently nudges the doctor to explain more or to give more clarification to what they just said. Over the next 3 slides, we'll be showing a demo of these features in action. In the first demo, it's a doctor-focused demo. So here's the doctor logging in. They're just joining. You're going to see a very normal, very usual Zoom interface working, but it's working fully on the browser. So after the doctor logs in and the patient logs in, they're about to have a normal interaction. Shortly after setting up the meeting, you start seeing this marked on the face. So this is Affectiva's SDK working on top of the Zoom, interface. Here you're seeing this white points on the doctor's face. This is Affectiva's Aftex working on the background, pinpointing not just the face, but also the features, the key features in the face, and in the background, inferring the emotions that are being felt and recording them. So the interaction goes on for a while. Sometimes the doctor is speaking, sometimes the doctor is the one who's listening, but eventually at the end of the conversation, the doctor can see all this. After the end of the interaction, the doctor clicks on Get Analysis and sees all these results. Our hope is that they'll be able to somehow use this information and improve the future sessions. The next demo is the patient-focused one. So what we just saw was the one where the doctor's emotions are being analyzed, but now it's shifted the focus from the doctor to the patient. Here, again, we're having the very same usual Zoom call, normal interaction, but we're seeing that now, instead of overlaying the SDK on top of the doctor's face, we're seeing it detecting the expressions and the emotions from the face of the patient. Here, again, our hope is that after the end of the session, there is a small Get Analysis button at the bottom right corner that the doctor would then again use to see the analytics of how the session went. And by the end of this, by combining the results from both the doctor and the patient, we hope that they'll be able to make better informed decisions in the future about these sessions. Now I'll pass the mic to Mohammed to speak more about the real-time intervention feature.
As you can see, we have developed our own UI platform where we plan to embed Victor's Zoom SDK into this frame. You can see this is from the doctor's perspective, and the one in the frame is actually the patient. And now the conversation is going, you can see that the patient has been confused. And now comes our mission. By displaying an intervention, the doctor knows that the patient has been confused, or by alerting him, and now he starts clarifying the matter to the patient. The patient is satisfied with the doctor's answer, and the conversation goes for a while. And after a while, you can see that the doctor may have said something really concerning or really confusing to the patient. And that's a part where we will come again and display a message to the doctor again, telling him to elaborate more. And the doctor responds to the message and starts elaborating, and you can see that the patient is satisfied towards the end of the call. Well, after ending the call, the doctor could click on info to get the analytics of the session. Seeing here, doctor is clicking on info. You can see the analysis, and you can see at the bottom part that there is a check mark and telling that the patient was satisfied towards the end of the call. And you can see that the doctor can actually pinpoint each emotion at different times and can actually view emotions independently using our UI. We can move to the next. As for our future plans, we're planning to tackle this in 2 ways. First, the features we plan to implement, which include a machine learning model that will analyze the performance of doctors throughout the session and give them feedback after the session on how to improve. For example, a doctor has been keeping his patients confused for an amount that's usual than the average, will be given instructions and feedback on how to improve that area. And second is that from the interviews we had done, we have realized the importance of hand gestures and body gestures in communication. So we'll provide notification for both the doctor and the patient to move away from the camera and show up their hands while talking. And also in the longer run, we may be able to develop a machine learning model that will analyze these gestures to better aid our model. As for scaling, we plan on shifting from just using Zoom's SDK to using an open source video conference tool that will allow us to have a one-stop telemedicine platform where the patient can actually find the doctor, book the appointment, and meet the doctor all through our platform. And lastly, I would like to thank all who have helped us throughout our journey. We couldn't have been here without all your help. Thanks to Dr. Tanya, Ashleen, Graham, and all floating mentors for their amazing insights. Thanks to Dr. Stephen. And shout out to our great mentor, Rizwan. And thanks to all our EMPath trainees and audience. Also, the Boston Children's Hospital has expressed interest in our product. We are thankful for the data they provided for us. And yeah, we'd love to receive all of your questions right now. And this is the references we used.
Oh, that was a great presentation. I have a question. What does goleador mean? What was the inspiration behind that name?
Well, I'm a soccer fan, and goleador is actually a Spanish word for top scorer.
Okay, all right.
Like that was the main inspiration.
And I'd like to say that like in machine learning, score is also like accuracy is one of the most important metric for classification. And I think another word for accuracy is score. So it wasn't actually planned, but it was a coincidence. We later realized that top score can also apply to machine learning as well. So top scorer, sorry. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Hi, I have a quick question. I was just want to clarify, you would start with using Zoom and then you would create your own platform, or would you always be linking it to the Zoom platform?
No, we actually, like on the long term, we plan on using a video conferencing tool called WebRTC, which is an open source video conference, so that we can actually sell our platform as like our own platform, not being dependent on Zoom's SDK or another video conference tool.
Gotcha.
That's for
Okay.
the long-term plan.
Yeah.
Got it.
We'd also like to acknowledge the difficulty behind such a task, because this video conferencing as a whole is very complex. But for now, it's a nice start to use Zoom, which is used by almost everyone right now. Yeah.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Thank you for clarifying.
Yes.
Cool. That was a great presentation. Thank you, everyone. I have one question is about basically the metrics that we have, and if a patient or a doctor choose to turn off a camera, do you have a way to keep track of the emotional states besides the video feed? Do you have any thoughts around that?
Yes.
So, okay, Victor, you can go ahead and answer that.
Yes. In the beginning, the project, we were actually planning on doing voice and image, but then we realized that doing this both would be a little bit challenging. So we stick with the image one. We think that ideally voice, like it's been proven, and also we spoke with this with Dr. Tanya, where she said that combining the two is much more effective than just using one of them. So ideally in the future, we'll be able to plan on using both. But for now, we thought that the Zoom interface, like for the Zoom interface, the video and the images would be more useful. And regarding your question about the users turning on and off the camera, I think ideally this would be like an opt-in situation where the patient would actually be told beforehand that I'm recording your emotions. So there's more transparency and people are not just getting recorded without them knowing. And if they choose to, they can get recorded. If they don't, then it's fine. Yeah.
Cool, thank you. Do I have time, Yulia, for another question?
Yes, you have 1 minute and 45 seconds left.
Yep, there you go. Thanks, Gabia.
Awesome, thank you. So another question that I have is that, do you thinking or envisioning about keeping track of the emotional response of each patient or doctor and being able to baseline that? Or how do you know that emotion is coming from that interaction, or there is something happening outside of that interaction that you can consider that in the report?
So can I answer that question?
Sure, go ahead.
So we actually had a conversation with Dr. Stephen Locke, who is a psychiatrist, and he's actually in this call right now at the moment. So what he told us was some of the doctors, especially the new doctors, they're not always good with a certain type of patients when communicating with them. So we definitely would like to keep record of the interactions and how the patient and the doctor responded to each other's responses. That way we can assign doctors who are good with one single type of patients. I think that will pretty much like improve the interactions as a whole. So we definitely plan on like keeping them in our record. This will also help us evaluate the performances of the doctors. Senior doctors can evaluate the juniors doctors, the new incoming doctors, and they can assign them to a certain type of patients according to their performance. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, thank you. That's one. Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome, right on time. All right, thank you so much for a fantastic presentation. Next up, we have Team Inside Out.
So can you see my screen now? Okay. Good morning, everyone. We're Inside Out team, and we're here to present our solution, Hand in Hand, which is an engagement-enhancing therapeutic platform for learning disorders. So we'd like first to introduce ourselves. We're Inside Out team. I am Hadil Mabrouk from the American University in Cairo.
My name is Huang Le. I'm from Lafayette College in the United States.
And I'm Gia Ramos from St. John's High School in Puerto Rico.
And we also would like to thank our mentors and our advisors who helped us tremendously through the past 2 weeks, Ahmed, Tanya, Chris, Gappy, and Alex. So here's the outline. We'll first introduce our problem statement, then we'll move to our solution, and then we'll discuss the market research and the competitive landscapes, as well as the future plans. So children who have to learn via online sessions have proven to be quite less engaged than they are when in offline sessions. So we can imagine how harder it is, or it can be, for children who are having some learning disorders. So here our problem is having two sides. So there is the therapist side and there is the child side. So from the therapist side, it's about the lack of the communication and the strong interpersonal relationship that they can build between them and their patients. And from the child side, it's about that the online setting can be quite sometimes unattractive to them, and also counseling sessions can be sometimes inaccessible in some situations due to some demographic reasons, or for instance, when the child is having some physical impairment. So here comes our solution, Hand in Hand. It provides insightful analytics, as it gives the therapist some metrics that can help them better identify the weakness points and help them progress with the child. And here we're focusing on the physical display of emotions. We understand that other metrics like arousal and of emotions can be quite harder to be measured like through faces than they are with voice. So we're primarily focusing on physical emotions, facial emotions. And it's also fun as we're providing some funny filters on the therapist's face to help the children be more engaged. And we're trying to find the sweet spot between helping them be engaged through the fun filters and at the same time not being them distracted by them. And also our solution is customized, as it provides scores that can help the therapist identify the weakness points and the best learning styles, as well as to keep record of their progress. So here, we've mimicked a simple situation where I'm playing the role of the therapist while Huang is playing the role of the child, and we're having a fast session where I'm firstly introducing myself, and then we conclude. We move forward. I'm asking him some challenging question, and then we conclude the session. So here, when I'm introducing the question, he seems to be quite struggling with it. I'm helping him find the answer, and then when he gets it right, and then we conclude our session. And here's the analysis part. So we here provide some analytics, real-time analytics of the data. So our solution is focusing primarily in two metrics for the sake of the demo. So we're focusing on two key points that we build out of the Affectiva's SDK. We're focusing on the connection as well as the confusion. And connection is about the empathy and trust that can be between the doctor and the child. So we build it out of a weighted average between valence and attention, while confusion is from the literature survey that we've conducted. We found that metrics like bar furrow and left corner depressors are key identifier to measure the confusion level. So as you can see, like in the graph that we see here, we can see the level of connection and confusion throughout the session, so that we can identify the weakness points and where the child can be struggling. And we can also like have an average score of the connection to test the effectiveness of the whole session, as well as an average score for the confusion to keep record and track for the progress of the child. And then Gia will discuss with you like our market research.
Thank you, Hadil. Now, why does the lack of engagement of children with learning disorders during their online sessions cause a problem? Well, according to the National Center for Disabilities, learning disorders is the largest of the 13 disorder categories covered under the special education law. Due to the lack of special education, 20% of people with learning disorders have high risk of experiencing depression during their lifetime. In fact, around 39% of students actually receive special education for learning disorders. Also, only 1 in 3 of learning disorder students end up repeating a grade, which increases their risk of dropping out from high school. 7 out of 10 students with learning disorders spend around 80% of their time in general education classrooms. And although inclusion is beneficial, in a nationwide survey, many general education teachers said they don't have the training or the resources to meet the needs of diverse learners. Consequentially, 18.1% of students with learning disorders end up dropping out, nearly 3 times the rate of all students. Also, 55% of young adults with learning disorders have been involved with the justice system. Low self-esteem caused by lack of special education helps explain why 3 in 4 students with learning disorders don't tell their college they have a learning disorder, and why only 1 in 20 young adults with learning disorders receive accommodations in the workplace. So, how big is our market? We're talking about 15 million children in the US alone. That is 20% of all children. According to Dr. Matthew Goodwin, a personal health, informatics, and specialist in child psychology that we interviewed, more than 90% of children are reporting an increase in anxiety levels due to their online learning experiences. Now our market graph. According to Crescent Research, the learning disorder treatment market in 2018 was set at $18 billion. It is expected that by 2027, this number will increase to 30 billion. That is a 6.5 compound annual growth rate. And this is based on the forecast before COVID-19 from 2019 to 2027. It is also shown that the fastest growing segment by therapy market is assistive technology, which is exactly where our product falls into. So who are we aiming to sell this product to? We aim to sell it to therapy professional organizations. This product will help increase their efficiency and reach by introducing technology to their sessions. We also plan on sending this to children's psychology researchers. This will help researchers identify individual differences and common points to create a more effective session by showing them what specific treatments have helped the child grow. We also plan on selling this to public education systems that may have a lack in special education special educators throughout their different schools. This shows that education is a very strategic investment for the future of every single country. And now I will pass it on to Wong to describe the competitive landscape.
Yes, so our product has several competitors, direct competitors and indirect competitors. Some of the direct competitors include offline sessions that provide a center for physical face-to-face contact between special needs learners and therapists. There are also online sessions that are our direct competitors. These online sessions include companies such as BetterHelp, Team Counseling, and Lexercise. And these companies help to incorporate therapy to help people of different needs. However, since our tool may serve as an enhancement to other virtual platforms, we may serve as a collaborator in the future with these companies. Additionally, chatbots are also a direct competitor. These services provide some counseling and therapeutic services for special needs learners. However, our tool differs from chatbots because we include interpersonal reactions between the special needs learners and the therapist. Indirect competitors include other forms of therapy, such as music therapy, dance therapy, and sport therapy that support emotional and health functions. And so here's where our product differs the most from most products in the market. We have automatic monitoring that displays facial emotions, and we provide an analysis of those emotions of how they change over time. We also provide interactive and funny and animated filters that help to engage the special needs learners when communicating with their therapist. And we provide analytics of improvement. We collect the data, displayed it in a temporal graph that shows a change in behavior and emotions over time that can help the therapist better address the needs of the special needs learners. And finally, our tool is accessible anywhere, regardless of demographic or physical constraints, as long as there is stable internet access. And in the future, we hope to combine the Zoom SDK that we've been using right now and the Affectiva SDK together into a platform that can truly deliver personalized connection between special needs learners and therapists. Additionally, we also want to incorporate voice and body language analysis that enables us to have a better and more complete understanding of the needs of the special needs learners. And we also want to address different disorders, such as phobia, anxiety, and speech disorders. And for example, with phobia, we can use specific metrics from the Affectiva SDK, such as fear and frustration, to create a metric that helps us to better track and quantify phobia. We also want to continue the engagement section of our product by including digital exercises and interactive mini games that continues the engagement of our special needs learners. And we also want to educate parents who are involving their children in this kind of process. So we will provide guideline PDFs on how to operate and include their children into this online platform that we've created. And so the purpose of our product, our end goal, is to redefine diversity in education. We want to create a diverse environment that suits the needs of each learners. We want to empower learners by better understanding their emotions and behaviors. Our product, hand in hand, provides a window into students' learning needs so that therapists, parents, and educators can help their students succeed. And so thank you. I want to pass the mic to Hadil to provide some further comments.
I think we have a couple of minutes to have like a live demo for our product. So here, like for the sake of the demo, we built like an interface that tracks from the video stream. And so I'll have to stop sharing my video so that it can access my camera from the browser. And here we can like start first, like ask to allow the data, to allow the camera. So like this is to ensure that we have the consent of the child as well as the therapist. So like it's now like I'm showing like that I'm engaged and connected, and now I'm showing some sort of confusion and that like I'm struggling. So like at first, like it records the data to keep track of the progress, and like we can here see the graph here, like when measures like connection over time as well as confusion. Then we can see like a rise at the end, like when I try to act like I'm quite like confused. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Thanks for the presentation, guys. I have a question. So would the therapist have access to these metrics in real time as it is happening, or do they have to wait for the session to end to kind of visualize the metrics?
So far, like we're building it. It's not real time, but we're planning to make it real time so that it provides like real time analytics throughout the session, and then like we can save the data later on, like to keep records and for archiving.
Okay, thank you.
It was a great presentation and topic. Thank you for sharing that. One question that I have is the kind of application that you have record the metrics, or are you planning or are you thinking about recording the videos in case psychologists want to go back and review the session? They have a flexibility to check that. What's the plan on that thread?
Definitely, like most of these sessions are recorded, like whether offline or online. So like this is provided that the session is recorded. So as you said, like the therapist can have the data so that they can go back and identify the weakness points and like what causes them frustration, for instance, and like to help on improving this like over time.
Thank you.
Any other questions, anyone? Kavya, how much time do we have?
You still have 3.5 minutes for questions.
Okay. Anybody else we haven't heard from?
Yes, I have another question if I have time. So I'm very excited about generally human interaction, and this is awesome that you're targeting that. One question that I have, you mentioned about 3 type of clients that you are envisioning about the therapy professionals and children psychology research and public education. If your technology or software is ready right now, which of these 3 would you target, and how would you manage to kind of go broad and scale up to broader audience?
Well, you can describe it.
Okay, I think for now, like it's more like ready to have it for like therapy professional organizations to help make their sessions more effective. However, like we're aiming on scaling up to provide more insights and more like deeper and like more thorough insights and analytics that can help researchers find the studies about different learning styles. And it's also like as well as the public education systems. Gia, you wanted to add to this?
I was pretty much just going to say the specific companies we were aiming to collaborate with, in like the first thing we're going to do, which is the ones that Huang described, which is Lexercise, BetterHelp, and Teen Counseling. Since Lexercise is already a platform that helps children with learning disorders, they have a survey that helps you fit which therapist is best, but I feel that our platform will really help increase the effectiveness of their platform. So that's kind of the first aim. It's to go to already existing ones and try to sell them our product.
Thank you.
Yeah, you guys still have 1.5 minutes if you have any more questions, or we can move on.
I'll ask one. So can the analytics also be done on the therapists themselves? And do you think there's value to that?
Actually, we thought that it's more important to keep track of the child's emotions because like these are the ones that the therapist would want to focus on. However, like it can be also beneficial to keep track of the therapist's facial emotions, to keep track of their effectiveness of their styles throughout the sessions. However, I feel that most psychologists are quite professional in this and like are quite developing this without the need to measuring this. However, it can be a beneficial add to the solution as well.
Okay, thank you.
I wanted to jump in here quick. Stephen Locke has not a question, but a comment. So go ahead, Stephen.
As an experienced clinician who's also been doing teletherapy and telepsychiatry for many years, I just had some thoughts about the direction that you're all going, which I think is terrific. But I had kind of a cautionary comment, which is that I don't think real-time feedback will be terribly useful to clinicians because it will be largely be distracting. It's going to be very hard to balance an effort to communicate empathically and be connected to the patient while also looking at a sidebar that is providing some kind of feedback to you about the nature of your relationship. I think the greatest value is in training, use for training. Obviously, it's useful for research, but use in training where you can go back and forth and go over things and use that as training feedback. And secondly, I think it's probably useful for evaluating the effectiveness of matching therapists and patients, something that was referred to, I think, by Rezwan earlier. The third thing would be that I think that it can be used for credentialing or certification. If a level of validity is proven, then it could be used as like board exams. It can be a way of measuring a dimension of behavior if it's considered to be essential to treatment, that you could develop criteria that people had to meet, and if they didn't meet that criteria, there'd be training for how people could meet that criteria. Those are my thoughts.
Certainly, thank you for this. Like we have thoughts on this as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Kavya, are we good to go?
We are good to go.
We're on time. Third group to present is Checkmate.
Sure, I'll be sharing my screen. Okay.
Okay, Kavya, are we good to start?
Yep, you guys are good. You can start whenever you're ready.
Okay. Well, hello everyone, and thank you all for being here. And now for our presentation. With the rise of virtual doctor visits due to the COVID-19 pandemic, questions about how effective these visits are have surfaced. It is really difficult to convey and perceive emotions through a video call, and this misperception could lead to doctors lacking empathy for their patients, or at least being perceived in that way. So the question we have been asking is, how can a clinician ensure that they are empathetic and are perceived in that way in an online connection? An important component of empathy is understanding someone's pain. For that reason, we believe that the key to making sure that a clinician is empathetic is by making sure that they understand their patient's pain. Current practices are not the most effective at conveying how much pain a patient is truly in. Just a few weeks ago, I fractured one of my molars and was in a great deal of pain. I went to the dentist only to wait 3 hours before a doctor even saw me. Through the use of x-rays, the dentist could see what was causing me pain and prescribed me the standard pain medication for someone with a broken tooth. They never even asked me how much pain I was in. Despite following their pain management treatment, I spent the next 2 days in debilitating, writhing pain. This led me to believe that the doctors did not truly empathize with me. And I know that I am not the only one that has had a similar issue. The inability of doctors to objectively assess pain can easily lead patients to perceive them as lacking empathy. Right now, pain is considered to be subjective. The globally accepted practice for measuring a patient's pain is by assuming how much something should hurt based on where the pain is being felt, what kind of pain it is, and how severe it appears to be. Healthcare practitioners then proceed to ask how much pain their patient is experiencing based on a scale from 0 to 10. Now, there wouldn't be any problems with these methods if we all felt pain the same way, but we don't. Someone's 4 could be someone's 10, and someone's 10 could be someone's 2. Some may want to downplay their pain, while others upscale. These subjective reports leave a lot of room for the misdiagnosis of pain and inadequate relief treatment. This leads to patients experiencing more pain than they have to, and also leads to patients believing that healthcare practitioners lack empathy. EMPath serves to solve this problem. Hello, I am Roberto Martinez.
I'm Nuha Mohammed.
I'm Yusuf Ezo.
And we are Team Checkmate. Despite the fact that he couldn't be here today, we would like to thank our main mentor, Ahmed Mokhtar. We are the creators of EMPath, the first automated pain detector used in a completely virtual setting. Now, I'll pass it over to Nuha so she can explain what EMPath is.
EMPath is the first tool to use emotion detection and voice analysis software in conjunction to objectively measure pain in a telehealth setting. Doctors can use EMPath to better understand the pain of their patients in real time during an appointment. Not only that, EMPath is also capable of measuring the engagement of both the doctor and the patient during a visit. This feature can make the doctor more aware of how engaged they are during a visit and therefore how likely they are to be empathetic. What you're seeing now is the perspective of a doctor during a video call with a patient through EMPath's interface. EMPath provides pain detection technology embedded in a clean and easy to use interface for both the doctor and patient. And EMPath's pain detection technology could easily be incorporated in electronic health record system as displayed and such that we developed and also be incorporated into Zoom technology. Now you may be wondering how it works. So EMPath is powered by a multimodal machine learning algorithm which can estimate pain based on both the facial expressions and changes in someone's voice. We leveraged Affectiva's SDK to identify 6 key facial expressions called action units that signal pain. So now you may be wondering how we got the data for training our model. Because of privacy concerns, we simulated the data using ourselves and members of our families to create what is and what isn't a painful expression. On the other hand, for voice analysis, we trained our own model using benchmark datasets that we obtained via the web. We extracted different voice parameters such as pitch and spectral features such as MFCC and fed it into a 7-layer convolutional neural network to identify different emotional states in the person's voice. Once we were done, we took our facial expressions and voice calculations and fused it into a weighted value for pain. And we placed more emphasis on the facial expressions. However, the voice values increase the robustness of our model as emotions are very hard to fake through speech as compared to with facial expressions. Now I'm really excited to give you guys a live demo of our product. As you can see, this is our interface. And as I'm speaking with regular emotions, my engagement is increasing, but the pain index is still low. It shows that the pain value we're calculating does not exactly correlate with the engagement, and it depends on the valence or the more negative or positive association of our emotions. So if I make more emotions related with pain or maybe frown, if you look at my eyebrows, the pain index gets higher and still stays consistent with my emotions. However, if I smile, my engagement might increase, but the pain levels still stay lower. So this can be an integral tool for doctors during their appointment to see if their patient's pain level is getting higher or lower and altering their interactions with them in real time. Now I'm going to go back to my presentation and hand it off to Shroop to explain the training and validation of our models.
The facial expression model achieved an accuracy percentage as high as 90%. After training on 961 samples of metric data simulated from Affectiva's SDK and testing on 241 samples, we could also improve the model by obtaining more data, especially from children who could have more difficulty articulating how they feel. Similarly, the audio model was trained using over 27,000 samples of data and then tested on over 9,000 samples, achieving an accuracy as high as 80% to classify whether the speaker has positive or negative emotions. The voice analysis would of course help in case the video stream was cut off for any reason. And now, Yusuf will tell us why our product is important from a market's point of view.
So, is there really a need for such a tool? We asked doctors and patients first whether they were interested in a product that objectively measures pain, and next, whether they thought this product was actually necessary. All but one from the 10 doctors and 10 patients we asked expressed interest in a tool that objectively measures pain. Furthermore, when asked whether this is a necessity, The overwhelming majority of doctors and patients were in favor of it. The high demand and perceived need for this product, both in physician and patients' communities, were evident in our surveys, and are perhaps best demonstrated through the words of Dr. Nabila Tabessum, who said, quote, "A pain detection tool would really allow me to understand the severity of my patients' conditions, which is otherwise very difficult in a telehealth setting." So, why do we stand out in comparison to other pain detection products? In the middle of a pandemic, with a large number of doctor visits happening virtually, it is already more difficult to detect emotions and pain. In this situation, most pain detection tools in the market, such as those displayed, prove largely ineffective. Although these pain detection tools can quantify pain, EMPath goes one step further and eliminates the need for in-person interaction, objectively quantifying pain levels in a telehealth capacity. EMPath would allow healthcare practitioners to provide better service virtually by allowing doctors to measure their patients' pain and in turn be more empathetic. So how do we plan to move forward with our product? After conducting our surveys, it is clear to us that both patients and doctors prefer in-person visits rather than a video call. However, until the COVID-19 pandemic situation is fully resolved, virtual visits are going to continue being an essential part of doctor-patient interactions. For this reason, EMPath's virtual aspect is very appealing and, quite frankly, necessary. Moving forward, we plan to develop EMPath as a Zoom plugin, considering the popularity of Zoom technology during this time. Beyond the pandemic, we plan to market this product to electronic health record systems or create an EHR system which would help doctors access the resources in one place. Finally, as in-person visits are the most ideal form of doctor-patient interactions, once the pandemic dies down, we are looking to create our own portable tool or software to sell or license to healthcare facilities. We have even considered partnering with the creators of some of the existing tools, such as Pain, and merging our products to create an all-around, more comprehensive tool. In any case, we believe this product is easily expandable, extremely versatile, and fit for any setting. Thank you guys for listening, and we would also like to thank our floating mentors, Tanya, Ashley, and Rana, for all the help and feedback we got from them. We can now answer any questions.
I have a question. So great presentation, guys. But so the question I have is regarding, like misuse of this technology. For example, in the demo, the presenter was not really in pain, but she was able to kind of activate the pain detector by, acting out certain signs of that would sort of co-occur with pain. So can patients misuse this tool to kind of get stronger pain medication than they actually need? And how would you kind of counter this, ability of people to kind of fake pain?
I think there's always room to do that in terms of technology, because once you limit like in-person interactions, technology isn't always reliable. However, with our voice detection technology, as I mentioned in my presentation, we hope to counter that, as faking emotions with voice is really hard, and weighing part of our model's values on the voice technology, it counters maybe fake emotions from the facial detection.
So
actually, when testing our own model, when testing like I want to make a happy emotion to get this, or a positive or negative emotion, I couldn't really quite get the emotion right, even though it has high accuracy on testing. So I have to make a huge effort to get the emotion right.
And this is also like somewhere where the doctor's assessment of the situation would come in.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
We hope, as you mentioned, this tool, as it is right now, could potentially be used to, get stronger pain meds if you could fake pain in that way. But we also hope that primarily this helps people that are actual pain better portray that towards their healthcare practitioners.
Wonderful, great presentation, you guys. Anybody else for questions, comments, even if it's not a question?
Can I ask a question for Nuha?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What tool did you use for the dashboard? I really like the dashboard, the pain one.
Oh, let me go back to. Oh, you mean like our interface?
Yeah.
Oh, I used a Node.js background, and then I used admin LTE template for that. That's helpful.
Cool, great presentation. I have a question in one is since you have multimodal, so two modalities basically in this case, one visual and one auditorial. If a person has basically using Zoom but with no audio, how SimPath would work when you have only one of the models activated or present basically? Have you thought about that also?
It could also function without the voice analysis. It just served as an extra like validation sort of thing, but without the voice analysis, we wouldn't weigh that aspect of it and just output the facial expression values, since the final prediction is a weighted value.
Okay. And other points that I have, so the SDK that we are providing as the emotion SDK or general purpose SDK is providing different AUs or action units. They are not curated specifically for a given use case, such as, for example, pain. And as we as human beings use facial expressions for both emotional and mental states. So for example, if I use eyebrow furrow, it can be both anger, it can be confusion or concentration. How would you kind of differentiate between different type of expressions that are correlated to pain rather than other emotional or mental states? Any thoughts around that?
Here comes the role of our simulated data that we extracted from Affectiva's SDK. Like some of the data we simulated were just anger and we classified as not pain, and the other were painful faces that we classified as pain. So we only had like 1,200 samples because of privacy concerns. It's only us who made the simulation, but in case we obtain more data, we could have more variant emotions classified as pain or no pain.
We did a lot of research prior to focusing on the action units to make sure that we acquired the right ones that were used to measure pain. And so after conducting our research, we were able to narrow it down to 6 specific ones that, when acting together, are the best indicators of pain.
Cool, awesome.
Yeah, so that's the end of our Q&A time for this group.
Thank you, Kavya. All right, so we're moving on to our 4th and final group. Funny name, the Merry Porcupines.
Yeah, Saida, if you want to go ahead and share your screen. Okay. Mid-March, I got a text from my therapist, Liz, saying that we had to transition to teletherapy because of the health risks during the pandemic. We had our first meeting a couple of days later, and honestly, it was really awkward and disconnected, and generally, it didn't seem to help me at all. At our next meeting, we discussed this new normal. She told me how she had been finding it harder to read her patients' emotions and reactions, and I told her that I had felt disconnected to her, and therefore I felt less trusting and less comfortable, and I was limiting what I was willing to share with her. I know for a fact that my relationship with my therapist is not the only relationship between a healthcare provider and a patient that has been uprooted by the transition to telehealth. This is why my team and I have created EMPatient. So first, I'd like to start by introducing our team. My name is Thanoshi Balasurya, and I'm an undergraduate student at Northeastern University studying computer science and cognitive psychology.
Hello, everyone. My name is David Hugh, and I am a second-year student at Carleton University, also studying computer science.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sayuri Ibrahimova, and I'm a junior in Phillips Academy in Dover.
Hi, everyone. My name is Julian Reed, and I'm a high school student at Phillips Academy in Dover as well.
And together we are the Merry Porcupines. We would also like to give a special shout out to our mentor, Alex Reichenbach, and the entire EMPath team for making this program as incredible as it has been. So, as I mentioned before, with the COVID-19 pandemic, everything has had to shift into a virtual space. For example, right now, we're all listening to these pitches virtually instead of in person. The world of healthcare has also had to shift into an online setting, and in a virtual setting, it is referred to as telehealth or telemedicine. However, as awesome as it is that people can still have access to great care, telehealth eliminates important aspects of in-person benefits, especially our human connection and emotional engagement. In person, we take for granted being able to easily read somebody's nonverbal communications. It has also been studied that a solid, trusting relationship between a patient and their doctor has significant benefits on the patient's healthcare. Another issue that we found to be prevalent in the health world, in general, not just virtually, has been the subjectivity of emotional data. For example, many studies have shown that Black women are constantly given less pain medication than other patients struggling with the same issues or in the same situation. This boils down to biases. Doctors are obviously human, and they're going to have their own biases. They're also going to have their own emotions, and their mood can easily affect the way that they interpret a patient's emotions. So as people of minorities and people struggling to adapt to this virtual world, we felt that these issues in telehealth hit close to home and were issues that we wanted to address. So now I'll pass it on to Julian to talk about our solution.
Thank you, Thanoshi. To solve this problem, we created EMPatient, which is a Google Chrome extension built using the Affectiva SDK. We chose to create a Chrome extension versus other possible solutions, say a Zoom plugin, because we wanted to ensure that our users would have the best experience possible. Chrome extensions are very secure and include many security features, some of which we struggled with as we were developing our product. However, we know that our users would appreciate this peace of mind in comparison to some other possible products, say a Zoom plugin, which might not be as secure as Zoom has been hacked a number of times. Also, a Chrome extension is very simple to install as it can be installed with one click, and it's very simple to use as it can be started up with one click in our case. This would allow all doctors, no matter how comfortable they are with technology, to use our extension and focus on building a strong relationship with their patient. We also built our extension so that it would be able to analyze many emotions in the patient during a telehealth meeting, especially those that indicate trust and engagement in the patient. These include joy, which a majority of doctors that we surveyed agreed is a good indicator of trust, and an overall engagement metric. These two data points are tracked throughout the course of the call so that the doctor or therapist could see how strongly a patient responds at a certain time. So, for example, how a patient could respond to a certain diagnosis or prescription. EMPatient allows doctors to record a telehealth session, and then once the session is over, they can run analysis on the recording and see visual scales of the patient's different emotions and their engagement levels. This would ensure objective emotional data and analysis as a more reliable source for patient evaluation compared to a doctor or therapist who might be feeling a little impatient, and it also provides a way for doctors to learn more about their patient and where they might need to adjust their behavior in order to become more engaging and more empathetic during virtual visits. Now, on to David with more.
Thank you, Julian. So our main target for this extension is doctors. EMPatient will allow doctors to focus on the content of what their patients are saying during their virtual visit without having to simultaneously worry about their nonverbal communication. Also, we would hope that doctors would use this as a training tool to understand when patients might be disengaged or frustrated and adjust their behavior in order to see better results, and therefore forge better relationships with their patients. We surveyed doctors and found that they would rather not see the data in real time since it could be distracting, but we're still interested in seeing the data after the meeting. For the patients, we want to help them by building a better relationship between them and their doctors, leading to patients having a better telehealth experience and be more at ease with their doctors who are handling their health and lives. From our surveys, where we had 49 people respond, 98% indicated that their doctors having information about their emotions during their telehealth meeting would be beneficial. Saida will now show everyone a demo.
Thank you, David. So now I'd love to show you the demo of our actual product. So as we mentioned before, EMPatient is a Google Chrome extension, and you can see it in the top left corner, in the top right corner, along with some of its functions. So let's pretend that I'm a doctor and this is my patient. So we're gonna have an appointment and I'm gonna use EMPatient to record it and make it better. So I'm starting the appointment, I'm recording it. Of course, obviously, as we're having a therapy, my patient displays all sorts of emotions. It can be happiness, it can be sadness, engagement, a lack of engagement. Sometimes it can be anger or contempt. So as our appointment goes on and on, I keep recording it and patient helps me with that. I stop the recording by clicking on that red button in the corner. And this takes me to over here, to this page where I can preview our appointment, make some references, understand the patient better. And then I have an option to download the recording, make it accessible for the future. I can also go and review some of the past recordings that I had, some of the past appointments, delete the ones I don't need. There's a lot of functionality here. And the most important part happens here. So now if I want to analyze an appointment, I go in the top right corner, click Analyze an Appointment, and this takes me to this page. So I'm going to load the detector, and using Affectiva SDK, I'm going to upload the appointment that I just recorded right here. And Affectiva SDK and our extension will help me analyze the engagement over time. So I can see that on the graph, I can see that right now the patient is happy, they're engaged. And as we see in the top right corner, the joy is 99%, everything is going great. But as time goes on and on, I'm speeding up here a little bit. As you can see, the engagement of a patient can go down right here. So we can clearly see that the level of engagement is low. And if we look at the video frame right here, the patient's thoughts are obviously somewhere else. And we can look at the emotion, we can say that sometimes there are moments of anger. So now I change the graph. Now we can measure the joy over time. This might be very helpful for therapies. The person's joy is at the moment and the levels are 100%. And but previously, the patient the levels of joy of a patient were very low. So hopefully, our extension will really help doctors eliminate biases and make the experience of telehealth nice for everyone. Thank you. And now I'll pass it along to Thanoshi, who's going to talk more about competitive analysis.
Yeah, thank you, Saida, for the demo. Affectiva is obviously at the forefront of the emotional AI world, but there are several other companies out there working in the field of emotion recognition. We found two companies that, with their respective products, seemed important to compare our product EMPatient to. The first of these companies is NVISO, which, in collaboration with a few other companies through the Bonsai's AI marketplace, has created an app that has many different capabilities, one of which is emotion recognition. Essentially, you can turn your camera on in their app, and it will provide graphs of real-time emotion recognition. The second company is Cambridge Brain Sciences, which has an online cognitive assessment that healthcare practitioners can give to their patients in order to better understand their emotions and cognitive states. There were a few factors that we thought were important in comparing our product to theirs. The first is objective emotion recognition. As we mentioned before, this is incredibly important because it can eliminate biases and provide better, more accurate emotional data for these doctors. EMPatient and NVISO both use facial recognition and analysis to achieve this, while CBS uses extensive research to analyze the results that they get in their assessments. The second factor that we considered is real-time analysis. Currently, NVISO is the only one of the three that does real-time analysis. However, as David mentioned before, we did survey some doctors and a few of them indicated that having real-time data during an appointment could be distracting. So we decided not to make this a current priority. However, as we will mention later, this is something we definitely want to try having open as an option. The third factor is human connection. Once again, we feel that this is incredibly important since it is a key thing that is missing in this new virtual world. EMPatient still lets the doctor be face-to-face with their patient and develop a relationship. On the other hand, for example, CBS does not have this human connection as the assessment is completely online and not given by another person. We also thought it was important that our product be healthcare specific since it makes it more accessible to doctors and can hopefully ensure that our patients' privacy is secure. For example, NVISO's app is currently available for free and can be used in many different industries. They have indicated interest in healthcare, but also in other industries such as the automotive industry. The last thing we thought was important is what we call the doctor training capabilities. This is essentially what David was mentioning before. We want the doctors to use EMPatient to help adjust their future behavior and eventually become more empathetic towards their patients. Now I'll pass it on to Julian to talk briefly about our business plan.
Thanks again, Thanoshi. Based on existing business models currently in the market, we are proposing a subscription service to our potential customers. We plan to sell our product to telehealth companies by giving them limited access to our extension. We plan to put our extension on the Chrome Web Store for free for anybody to download, but the extension will be password protected and we will give our customers individual passwords for limited time use. Now, on to our next steps. One of our first priorities for the future is implementing the password protection that I just talked about for our subscription service. As I explained earlier, our app will be free for anyone to download, but it'll only be available to those who have a password and can successfully access it. Another one of our next steps is adding in real-time analysis like Thanoshi and David talked about before. However, some doctors that we surveyed indicated that they would find real-time analysis distracting, so we plan to make this an optional feature for some doctors to use if they want to, and then if doctors don't want to use it, that's perfectly okay as well. One element that we also plan to add in the future is doctor training, like Thanoshi just talked about. We plan on providing tips to doctors, guiding them on how to be more engaging and empathetic in a virtual setting. And we think that that would be highly valuable to both parties, not only the doctor and the patient, but to building a stronger connection between the two. And with these tips, doctors would be able to build trust with their patients and have a truly empathetic relationship. We also want to have the app record on the patient side if possible in the future, so that if connection is lost or if connection is weak, the recording could still be analyzed and data could still be retrieved. Now, on to Saida to give you more information about our next steps.
Thank you, Julian. So we're also planning to include more testing with real healthcare professionals, gather feedback, and implement everything in our extension. We want doctors to work to actually pilot our program and make our product as good as possible. We also hope to branch out to more platforms in the future, work with Firefox, Safari, maybe Zoom, and make our extension as accessible as possible to everyone. Thank you so much for your attention. We're very excited for everything that lies ahead with our product, and we're open to any questions and comments that you might have. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Really great presentation. Thank you. My one question / concern is the idea of recording people's therapy sessions makes me really nervous. I mean, there's just so much intimate personal data there. How will you ensure the patient's privacy, especially if you're using Zoom and Zoom has had issues in the past? Yeah, how will you ensure that that should be a top priority?
Yeah, so that's why we chose Google Chrome in the first place, because they have more security. But also we were hoping that that would be something that the doctors would put under their confidentiality, the doctor-patient confidentiality. And obviously they would be hopefully telling their patients that they are about to record these sessions. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Mo?
Yeah, I have a question about similar to what Yulia was saying about the privacy issue. Where are you storing the data for each patient? Is that locally? Is that on the cloud? And do other therapists or doctors have access to the previous record of each patient? How do you envision using the record of for each patient and scaling up so other doctors can benefit from that? Any thoughts around that?
Yeah, thank you so much for your question. Actually, it's a great point to consider. Right now, we're using cloud storage to store the recordings of the appointments. We haven't really thought about recording like photos for specific patients. So right now we have everything like in the same cloud, and we're definitely going to work on that. This is a really great point. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your question.
Sure, of course.
So I have a question. So you guys mentioned earlier that virtual interactions do not have the same sort of impact in this application compared to real one-on-one, interactions with your therapist, and you're trying to bridge that gap. But could you speak maybe a little bit about what the limitations still are even after something like this product?
Well, I think there's always going to be room for improvement. It's definitely a learning curve. I know I talked to my therapist and she said that she had to sort of learn how to react to like their patients, or kind of understand that their reactions might be different in a virtual setting. So I think as much as we can do to sort of help the process along, I think there also is going to be a lot of learning on the doctor side, and also hopefully patients too, like learning how to be more reactive. And I think that would also have to be a conversation between doctors and patients as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also
Thank you.
to add on to that, sometimes people might have problems with internet connection during the appointment. So we're thinking one of the next steps we want to implement, we want our extension work on the patient side as well. So record everything, gather the data, and send it to the doctor, so that to make it easier for both doctors and patients.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Kavya, how are we on time?
You guys still have about 1:30 left.
All right. Any other questions, comments?
Yeah,
No?
I have another question. So in some scenarios, there are multiple people in the field of view of a camera. Have you thought about if there's a patient with some family members in the background in the conversation, how would you focus on the person of interest, or the patient, or the person that has a conversation, and make sure that you're keeping track of right individual in that communication? Any thoughts around that?
Actually, that's a very good point. I think in Zoom, they have a really good feature, a green screen, where like a person is sort of, the background is sort of replaced. So maybe we might use that feature, research more on that feature. And maybe if a patient has some disturbing background, we might use that similar feature in our product.
And one other thought that I have is that there are some open source face recognition. So for each patient, if you have the face image of that, you can recognize also that individual in the scene, and it can automatically track their facial metrics also. That could be also another option. Yeah, great presentation. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, so we're good on time, and I think that was the last presentation. So good job, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Great presentations. We really enjoyed them. Thank you.
It was great, everyone. Kudos to everyone who has been working so hard in the past few weeks. I loved listening and seeing how amazing you have done as a team. Great job to you and your mentors.
Yes, great job. I would like to second that. This is very, very impressive, given the amount of time that you guys worked on it. So congratulations, everybody.
Thank you.
Congrats. Yay. All right, I think we can all disconnect, and you guys will hear back from Ashleen or Tanya. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.